All right, moving into the technology world, I'm going to use my Chromebook here. Like Mr. Juliana said, I am the supervisor of physical education and athletics. And just to quickly go through between pages 8 and 12 in your budget packet, those are the allocations for our budget, would really help our day-to-day operations. And some of those things just to glance over, and the biggest part of that is our transportation costs, which get our athletes to and from all of our athletic events, GMC and NJSIAA events, throughout the seasons. Also, we have I supplement the budgets of all of our schools for all of our teachers that have innovative ideas or technology ideas throughout the year. They go to PD, they come back, they're looking for some items. I do have money in my budget to help those teachers out to make sure that we're bringing the best items to our students. We also have our purchase services, and that all includes our kind of off-site items for our athletes. The swimming pool, golf course, bowling alley, we don't have that in district, so we have to pay for that to go off-site. We have cheer practice, maintenance of our equipment, reconditioning of our items to make sure everything's safe for our student athletes to use, and also our school doctors, and that checks all of the physicals to make sure our athletes are up to date and good for all that. Other than that, there are supplies and materials for every one of our sports. We have over 30 varsity sports that we offer with a full gamut of JV and freshman and 8th grade sports as well. So you can see in that portion of the budget, we have uniform items, balls and equipment that the teams need to perform every day for both practice and events. Officials and tournament fees, there's a portion in the budget for that as well. That pays for our officials. That is an NJSIA state fee that stays for 3 years. I believe we're in year 2 of that cycle right now, that our costs will stay the same for our officials, and also for the tournaments and invitationals that we send our teams to compete throughout the state. That takes us through our allocations, and I'll briefly go over some of the requests that are in there on page 25 to 32. The first is the department share of PE and athletics. I'll just touch on this quickly. It's something that I think can help impact our students and our athletes, our student athletes, both in the classroom and on our fields. It's something that right now with the childhood obesity rates going up, it's something I think that is important to have somebody other than myself. We have a large district and 11 schools. Getting there is tough. To have somebody that has their eyes really on our lower levels to make sure that we're up on common testing and we're checking fitness rates and data-driven and technology and all those things. I think that's important for us. Moving on, next is a transportation increase. I know Mr. Juliana just talked about that. Athletics sees a big punch in that. So we do have a transportation increase just based on what we happened this year. We're seeing almost 20% or so for our buses going up, and we're spending quite a bit on these buses. I know there's been conversations to try and figure out ways to offset that within the district. But those are things that are going to go on, but we did put some transportation increases here as a request. The next request here is for a weight room and fitness center. Right now at the high school is our only fitness center that we have in our district, and it needs a facelift. The area that we're using right now is obviously the only space that we have. We just heard all the issues we have with space in the district, so we have our current space. We just need to find ways and to find different equipment that's out there right now to maximize the space that we have, both for our phys ed students and our athletes. We can see a direct impact. Right now, if you were to walk in to our weight room and into workout world, it's completely different. And in our phys ed staff, our curriculum is we want to teach these kids about lifelong fitness and wellness and what they can bring from our phys ed department out into the world for their future. So we want to be able to have some of those items so they can see that and make that transition into that physical lifestyle. Next would be a trainer. Moving our part-time trainer to full-time, and then also adding an additional part-time trainer, so that would give us 2.5. Like I said earlier, we have 30 varsity sports. We have full gamut of JV and freshmen for most, and 8th grade. We have a ton of athletes that we service, and right now we have 1.5 trainers. Our part-timer is down at Churchill, takes care of all of our 8th grade athletics, and they're there for 3.5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and they really do go above and beyond for our student athletes. We have our full-time trainer at the high school where most of our events are going on. We're a large campus, and she sees a huge influx of those athletes coming in. And being the supervisor, I just see that she needs some help. It's a lot coming in and out. We're a large campus. Sometimes she has to make decisions on, from a softball game to a lacrosse game, totally across campus, and may get calls where 2 kids are hurt. And she's got to make that decision of who to get to and who to hand ice to and who to talk to. So she's just spread thin, and I think for our safety for our athletes, I think it's something just to talk about. Moving on, we have some growing programs. Last year, we talked about our track program, it being, great that we were having a lot of student athletes move into that area, and we were able to get some coaches. Our lacrosse program is also growing heavily. I think right now, at this point, we have a lot of freshman athletes where we could house our own freshman program. So looking into that, into a faster growing sport here to add that coach at that level for these kids to compete at a freshman level and really help to build our programs from the bottom up, it's something to discuss as well. Finally, get into some supplies and materials we need for athletics, some bigger items. These are a little more safety issues that we discussed the other evening. The first is our pole vault mat. Our pole vault mat is, I gotta say, at least 20 years old, and it's not unsafe and not compliant, but it is getting to that point where its compression stage is getting deeper now. We have some athletes, and it's a good problem to have, that are jumping from higher heights, and they're starting to feel that. So I think it's time to look into that just for the safety of our athletes, to make sure that we're safe there for both our pole vault and our high jump mats at the high school campus. Our wrestling mats, also about 20 years old, they're starting to peel. Their compression is also down. That's something to look into, again, just for our safety of our athletes. And finally, a gymnastics beam that's starting to get a little wobbly, that we've worked with our staff to try and save. But now it's time, coaches have kind of moved off of that beam and only using one because they don't compete on that as much anymore. That's what we have. Are there any questions? Sure.
Yes, Mr. Nazo. You said that like lacrosse and some of the other sports are becoming more popular. Are any of the sports tailing off and not as popular, so the numbers are going down in a significant manner, not a fluctuation?
Sure. So we're seeing some of our contact sports are moving down a little bit, but not enough to where where we would possibly lose a program.
Okay.
We're not in that tight of strength
Yeah,
yet, and our
that's
coaches are.
that's
Yeah,
my
they're still
question,
working
yep.
right now to keep that recruitment process up, to try and get kids out there. But we are starting a slight decline, but not enough to lose programs.
Thank you.
You knew you'd have 1,000 questions from me here. Firstly,
All right.
I think the district needs to know, and the people watching at home, exactly that you control the athletic department and the physical education across the district.
And how?
Correct.
And how, and Vic, you can help me with this. You're wearing two hats, basically.
Yeah.
And health. I mean, you almost three hats.
No help.
Health is different, okay.
No health. No, I appreciate that. I do get a lot of support from Mr. Figueroa, of course, the staff that works under me to help balance the time. They do a great job helping to balance that, but to answer your question, yes.
And a few,
That's all I'll say.
a few things on the budget that I looked at. Next time you do this, can you do me a favor? And when you do it, put the boys and girls sports next to each other.
Okay.
That are same, because, boys basketball's on one page and girls is on the other.
Sure.
So I'm looking at things, I'm looking at softball versus baseball. Baseball you're allotting $2,200 for, and softball's $1,200. Same programs, 8th grade and up, on both levels. Why discrepancy, $1,000 difference between baseball and softball? It's the same equipment. It's a good, just a
Kind of
question.
sort of same equipment.
Yeah.
Baseballs, they use a lot more. They lose them. They're everywhere, especially down at Churchill. They lose a ton of baseballs down there, so we have to buy more baseballs to make sure of that. Softball, on the place that they are on campus, they don't lose as many. So that's a little bit, you'll see the discrepancy there.
I know, talking about busing, it's beautiful that the 8th grade team gets, the 14 girls get to drive a coach bus to
The
their
kids
away
love it.
games. The kids love it. I mean, I wouldn't want to take it away from them, but that's something we can almost
Right.
save a little money on that. We're outsourcing a coach. on
So,
these things.
if I may, I'd like to make a couple of comments. One
My
is-
daughter's going to kill me for saying this.
Well, but that's okay, you
Yeah.
can blame it on me if you like. But we are looking at that. The issue is that we don't have services out there. And it's the time of day when transportation is required.
Right.
That it's very difficult to get those services because they need transportation. The athletic program needs transportation during the week at the time that we're in the middle of doing bus runs. So we can't even take our own buses and put them out there. We utilize our staff and our buses whenever that's possible. Certainly on the weekends, if it's a late event, but otherwise, the immediately after-school programs require the contracted services. But that's something that we're looking at and how we can perhaps mitigate not only that $40,000 request, but maybe even the base. Can't make any promises right now, but it's something that we are actively looking at. The other thing I wanted to mention is with regard to the requests. Currently, none of the requests have been moved into an approved status because we're looking at how can we address those. We're going to have a lot of needs, and some of those we might be able to do through a 5-year lease purchase program where it reduces what the impact is on the budget and we spread it out over several years. So we're looking at those. So while they're in a request status, some of these items will be moving into an approved status.
Okay.
Just
I
for-
have one more.
I'm sorry. go
Then I
ahead.
turn over to everybody else. Yeah. Cheer, I know last year we worked on paying for outsourcing the gym.
Right.
And obviously we bust them to the gym. Any way in the future to get these girls and boys that compete on cheer to train at our high school?
So the reason they go off-site is because
The
they
mats.
use a 9-panel spring
Right.
floor mat.
Yes.
We don't have the capacity right now in our district with a 9-panel spring floor mat. The spring floor mat that we currently have is for gymnastics, and that's 7 panels. So to get 2 more panels and add it to that, I'm not sure in the lower gym we'd be able to house that. So right now, this is the best option for them right now to use that full facility that they need is at this off-site.
Okay.
That's just, it's a limited amount of time that they're at this office.
Correct, they go once a week varsity, once a week.
I just wanted to say, just for those of you who are very new or kind of new, still new, with the budget requests, they're prioritized, okay? So we ask the budget managers to give us their sense of what's priority 1, what's priority 2, so that once we get the full picture of all the budget manager reports, we'll also have a sense of which requests to put in. So what you're hearing, as Bernie said, the requests are not in the general budget at this time. But these are the things we're going to be making decisions on.
Any other questions?
Anyone else?
Mr.
Thank you,
Seeler?
Chris.
Okay, good job reffing on something.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Good
Thanks,
report.
Chris.
Thank you so much. Lots of work to do.